إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. عباد الله، أوصي نفسي وإياكم بتقوى الله عز وجل كما أمرنا بالقرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: اتق الله حيثما كنت وأقضي سيئة حسنة تمنها وخالق الناس بخلق حسن. Brothers and sisters, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the fact that He created us and gave us an opportunity of being human beings. We realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created very many creatures, and some of them will have their service ending in this world because they have no examination that they are pursuing. But for us as human beings, we shall do an exam in this world, and in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will elevate us to a very high status for those that will succeed, and He will put down to a very low status whoever will fail the examination of being in this world and simply obeying the commands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Last month we discussed or we reminded ourselves generally about the critical issue of leadership, and in that case we are simply referring to the current period in which we are, where all kinds of people are coming up and they are saying they would like to pursue leadership. So today we are focusing particularly on all of us that are already in positions where we do leadership, all those that are seeking that responsibility. Brothers and sisters, within the Islamic system, we don't consider leadership to be a favor. So therefore, if we had an Islamic understanding of leadership, we wouldn't find complaints like we do not have a minister coming from our region. We do not have a minister coming from our tribe, because these elements of leadership are not things to be enjoyed. Leadership is compared by some scholars to putting a rope within your neck. So you just imagine you are in a house full of gods or other creatures, and you put a rope in your neck and stand on a stool. So the exam is you are praying that none of the gods knocks this stool, because the moment the stool is knocked, it is your neck that will be having to carry your weight. So that's how dangerous the issue of leadership is. And unfortunately, we pursue it more in terms of what it seems to give as benefits. For some of us, it is pursued as a source of power. So I can do anything I want, and I'm not necessarily bound by the laws or the rules. That is not a favor. That's a very dangerous territory, because if you can do anything you want, and no one will, and there will be no repercussions within the actual environment, in that case, it means you are largely dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that one is dangerous territory. So for us as Muslims, every time the card of leadership is put in front of you, it is something that should cause you to worry. Because potentially, it can be the cause of you entering hellfire, or it can be the cause of you entering Jannah. For Jannah in particular, we know very well of the hadith that is narrated to us regarding the 7 people that will be under the shade of Allah on the last day where there will be no shade at all. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises us to go into the accountability, it's not going to be immediate. We shall have a period where it is not clear what is happening next, and that period will involve the sun coming closer and each one sweating according to their level of good deeds or bad deeds. But among the 7 that have been mentioned is a leader that practiced justice during their reign. Now, whenever you see something that has a very high reward within the Sharia of Islam, just know that it is equally extremely difficult. So, the Islamic system has put leadership and good leadership in that case at a level where you will join the other very special people that Allah will provide a shade for when no one else has a shade. So it is therefore important that if you are occupying these positions or you are planning to occupy, you are trading into something that has very high value in case you succeed, but equally you could get yourself in a bit of a problem. So we therefore refer back to the normal methodology of Islam, and that is, how did the earlier people that were Muslims carry out this responsibility? Because there it becomes easier for us to simply borrow a leaf. Even if you don't read a lot, you simply pick one person and emulate that. Do what they did, and you may possibly survive. We begin our journey in Islamic leadership with the city of Medina. Now we know very well that that city used not to be called Medina, it was called Yathriba. When the Muslims migrated to Yathriba, it came after a pledge. The Prophet ﷺ started his mission in Mecca, and life became extremely hard. Every day they would think of some new way of terrorizing him and his followers. Then when things became seemingly impossible, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made an opening for him. And that opening came through a delegation that came from the city of Yathriba and came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they told him, "Why are you suffering from here? We at Yathriba have already believed in you, and we are willing to sacrifice our lives to defend you. Why don't you come and live with us?" So that was the pledge they made. And that pledge is called the pledge of Aqaba. There are 2 of them. So later the Prophet ﷺ accepted to move from his home place, which is Mecca, and to painfully move northwards to the city of Yathriba. So when he got there, that city was changed to Medina to Nabi, meaning the city of the Prophet, and that's what we maintain for now. They removed the Nabi, they call it Medina. But I think when you call it Medina, it's as if you are repeating yourself, because Medina is simply a city. So when the Prophet ﷺ reaches Medina, he finds there already people that are there. So you now have a society that has 3 major groups, each one with a totally different interests, but they need to live together. The first group were the Jews that used to live in that place. Now the Jews had already learned from their books that there is going to come a prophet in this area here, because for them they had the information. But they thought that they would be the ones from whom the prophet would come, so they camped nearby waiting for one of them to become a prophet. The second group were the Arabs that were there. Now, interestingly, it is told to us that these Jews used to intimidate the Arabs. They would repeatedly tell them, "You people are joking. A prophet is going to come here."
and we shall fight you who will not believe him. That's what they used to tell the Arabs. And because the Arabs didn't have any information, they would look at it as a source of worry. What do they mean by some prophet coming and how they'll fight us? So within the Arab community, you had those two groups, the Aus and the Khazraj. And they would have continuous disagreement and fights, sometimes engineered by these Jews, because for them they survive by creating chaos among others, and life goes on. Then now you have a new group coming from Makkah. They are running away from persecution, so they are coming to take refuge in Medina. So you have three groups. How did the Prophet ﷺ start his journey as a leader of these three groups, each one with their own ideas and objectives? So what the Prophet did, ﷺ, is that they created, you can even call it the first constitution. So this constitution clearly stipulated what each and every group among them was going to do. What is expected of the Jew? Of course, the general umbrella, we are going to live in this city amicably, no fighting, nothing. But in order to do that, each and every one of us has a responsibility. You will not do this, you will not do that. You can search a bit about the Medina Charter, and you will see how comprehensive that agreement was. And that agreement, therefore, provided a framework for the Muslims and the others to live peacefully. So for us Muslims to live peacefully with the others, they don't need to be Muslims. For as long as there is no injustice coming from them, the religion commands you to live peacefully with others. And that is what the Prophet did. So meaning, in any position that we occupy, we have an obligation of guaranteeing that everyone that lives in the area we have control over lives a peaceful life, whether they are Muslims or they come from any other group. So that is one thing that we learn from history. The Prophet ﷺ did not come and simply overtake and start forcing people. He made an agreement with all the groups, and it became a constitution to be followed. When the Prophet died, ﷺ, we had Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr Siddiq gives us an example in humility. When a person occupies a position of leadership within the Islamic system, it is not supposed to be a source of pride. It is simply a responsibility, something that is put on your neck. It is not a reason to feel very big. The moment he was selected, Abu Bakr Siddiq gave a speech. And in that speech, he told the people, "Oh people, I have been appointed over you, though I'm not the best among you." So from day one, he set away any thinking that he has any superiority over anyone in Medina. He is simply selected to pursue a role. He told them, "If I do anything good, please support and help me. And if I do anything wrong, correct me." So that is what he set as a principle for his governance. When you see something wrong he's doing, come out and point it out to him and say, "Please, this is not correct." And we know very well that that principle was upheld across the time when Abu Bakr was the Khalifa. These are the examples that we need to be following as we occupy positions of responsibility. When Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu became Khalifa after the death of Abu Bakr, for him, he pursued another direction, but something that we can also learn from. a direction of worrying every day about the welfare of the people that he's managing. And this is something for every Muslim that has control over any people, be it even in your own home. Please always worry about the welfare of the people that you manage. And we know very well that in order for him to guarantee that he had done his work, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu would move around during the night. And he would look around and make sure that everyone is having peace of mind. And we know very well that in some cases he would find families that are having hard time, and he would come directly and help them out. And in some cases he would learn other things that he didn't know. He one time overheard a woman complaining that our husbands are taken away for too long. Had it not been that I am fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would have invited a man into this house tonight. So that is what he overheard the woman complaining about. So he immediately went home to his daughter. He didn't go to his wife. He went to his daughter, Hamza, and asked her, how long can a woman stay comfortably without necessarily needing the husband? And Hamza estimated 4 months. And that 4 months became policy across the governance of Umar, that every 4 months, the people that have been on expedition are ordered back home. So even things that would appear as if they are not critical for him, he took them as critical. We also have men like the one that is regarded as the 5th Khalifa. We know very well that the official Khalifas are essentially 4. But Umar ibn Abdul Aziz set a record among those that are not part of the other 4, to the level that he was declared the 5th, just because of how far he went in upholding justice and governing his people very well. And we know very well that he lived a simple life, even if he was actually wealthy. The majority of his wealth, he would instead put it into the Baitul Mal. But we see that in our case, sometimes it is the opposite. Instead of one striving to help out those that are under them, they instead strive to enrich themselves. These oppressive things make life difficult for those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed hardship. And in the end, it becomes a problem. Lastly, brothers and sisters, the Muslims took over a part that was largely Christian, and that country is nowadays called Spain. That Spain there was taken over by Muslims from North Africa, and they set a standard that was never to be seen in any other place. Number one, they said any critical thing that a human being needs will not require money in our area of control. So critical thing number one, water. Never should a human being buy water or incur any difficulty in acquiring water. So for the first time in civilization, they built a town that had water moving around the whole town in pipes, as a part of government responsibility, not a favor to the people. For them, they looked at water as life. You don't sell life. And they set that as a minimum standard. The second thing they set as a minimum standard was health. And for the first time, they established public hospitals that are 100% free. You feel sick, simply go and get treated. Life and health are minimum requirements. So they set that one and they did it.
They then went for education, established learning centers for free. So for them, their principle was anything that is critical in life, a human being should acquire it for free as long as there is something called the government or there is leadership. So for all of us that occupy positions that control resources that are meant to do welfare, look out for the things that are critical in the lives of people and ensure that these things are available to them. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has tested us by putting us into this world, and the exam is either having excess or being deprived of. So is life for those that are deprived of, and possibly as we go by, if we Muslims that are occupying positions of responsibility show an example, slowly by slowly others may learn out of it and it becomes a way of work. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Agada wange ne banyina zetu tulifanya nate ku nsonga y'obukulembeze kubanga esizoni tetulimu. Omwezi oguwedde twabitunuulira generali nga tutunuulira buli kyalina okukola, naye leero twagala kutunuulira muntu ono kinoomu ng'olina ekifo kyonna ekirimu okutambuza ensonga z'abantu. Ekisooka kyetugambye nti obusiraamu bwayambuza ensonga y'omukulembeze ne bugituusa ku leko ya waggulu nnyo, nti omuntu yenna anaabeera mu bukulembeze n'atuukiriza hakki z'abantu ng'abatambuza n'obwenkanya, omuntu oyo ajja kuba mu kisiikirize kya Allah ku lunaku obunaabeera ng'omusana gwebembula gwokya abantu naye nga tewali kisiikirize kyonna. Hadiisi yemu abantu musanvu naye tetuggyeyo omukulembeze eyayimirizaawo obukulembeze bwe ku mazima n'obwenkanya. So kitegeeza nti omusiraamu buli ng'obeera mu kifo nga olina obuvunaanyizibwa ekikubanjibwa mazima na bwenkanya, era ebyo bw'obituukiriza ojja kwesanga ng'okusibyere. Era ne tulaba nti namusaasala bwe yagenda e Madiina n'asanga abantu abo abaaliyo abamu baali olere balwana n'entalawe zitaggwa, kyeyasooka okukola si kuwamba buwambi, naye yajja n'ateekawo enkola evudde mu kukkiriziganya. Abayudaaya abaaliwo, Abawarabu abaaliwo abaali bawangalira omukibuga ekyo kyayitanga Yakuba mu biseera ebyo, n'abalala kale abaali bavudde e Makka. Era buli omu ekyo ekiwandiiko tekimuwagala nti tojja kuwangalira ku Madiina muno nga toyina buzibu bwonna, teyalina buyinza kukutuusaako bulabe, naye buli omu ajja kubeera n'obuvunaanyizibwa. Bwe tunaabeeranga tulumbibwa babengawo abantu abavaayo okutaasa ekibuga n'ebirala ntosobola okyegerako kyatale Madiina. So n'atuseetingira example nti olina okugenda okutambuza ensonga z'abantu kuba bubyeri na bibyo n'obiteekawo, kkiriziganya n'abantu, abantu babeere nga balaba nti ddala bafaako era interesti za buli omu ayina ezize ng'ozitadde mu nkola. Nabbi sallallahu bw'avaawo ne tudda ku bakhalifa, era bonna buli omu ayina kiyaseetinga awo. Abubakar Siddiq n'atulaga nti omuntu okuba omukulembeze tekitegeeza maanyi nakulaga nga bw'olina ebingi by'osobola okukola abantu, si bwe kiri. Interestingly, mu busiraamu tulina edduwa eza buli kifo, naye bw'otunira edduwa ezo, edduwa gye basabira omulabe n'edduwa gye basabira omukulembeze ng'omusisinkanye ze zimu. Edduwa gy'osabira omulabe n'edduwa gy'osabira omukulembeze ng'omusisinkanye ze zimu. Naye kubuuza lwaki oba oli awo edduwa ezo ze zimu? Omulabe yenyumya yeebeera kuyanambi, omukulembeze ekizibu kye abeera n'ettuuzi ezisobola okukosa abantu. Bw'okimanyi ng'omuntu asobola okujja ku omulimu n'obonaabona jasiti ng'awandiise buwandiisi na peeni bw'ati, kakitegeeza nti bw'aba jasiti kwanga kwa sipeni no wani kisobola okukosa omuntu n'aviibwako omulimu n'abonaabona n'ayagwala okubusiraamu bwatyo okuba yeemu ey'omulabe n'ey'omukulembeze obwega mulungi oba mubi eddwa yeemu. Ekirala tutandika Abubakar yatuweegezaako nti weetoowaze era yeebeera purinsipo omusiraamu wonna wooli olina obuyinza bwetambuza kyabubaka mu sipiiki yabagamba nzijikuwaayo mumwe okutambuza ensonga zange ensonga zange naye sinze ensinga yasooka kweteeka ku levo yaabwe atambuze engero nga teyeekunga umangunokakaabe nate naseetika example ya saavisi teri muntu alina kusula njala nga waliwo abakulembeze era n'akituukiriza ye yakakuba nakukumi kuwuliriza ng'atudde eno mu lubiri nti bajja bamulipootingereka yeegenderayo mu bantu ate ng'agenda mu kaseera kakakasa nti kati bana abantu balina okuba nga boogererwa mu kiro era azibakamu ku mateeka g'obusiraamu agatambuza entalo ng'obutabuyisaayo abasirikale mu deployment kusukka myezi nagonagona gaava mu mbeera eyo omuntu yavaayo n'enniya ennungi ng'anoonya kulongoosa era nga n'amutera mu kabufi. Uthumani ye tetwetaaga nakwogera bingi yali musajja wa kisa nnyo nga mugagga naye ye ng'akola olumu ebintu n'ogamba subhanallah. Uthumani kunafaana abasiraamu babeera basembukira e Madiina batuukawo ddungu tewali mazzi amazzi omuyudaaya yakatunda bano basajja baavu bavudde e Makka bazze e Madiina tebalina na ssente zigula mazzi ye kyeyakola ng'agendanga omuyudaaya njagala shares mu bizinesi eno muyudaaya ng'amukkiriza okugula shares kati ye kyeyakola nga bakkiriziganya otunda leero nze n'entunda enkya ye kyeyakola olunaku lwe bagagabwere enkeera omuyudaaya ng'atunda of course webalawo chance yewere buli omu asena ku lunaku olwobwere era tewayita nabbanga ddene omuyudaaya takyalina bizinesi abantu bonna balinda lunaku olw'amazzi ag'obwere final omuyudaaya n'asayininga out n'alekera Uthumani oluuzi olwo era ne lubeera luuzi bwabwere tubantu abaali basobola omugaggawaza kubanga enteza tewali mazzi naye ekyo Uthumani n'akituukiriza n'abalala Abdulaziz Mwalimu Abdulaziz bonna bonna bajjangayo kifaananyi kyakusaabinga bantu kutereeza mbeera yenniya y'omusiraamu so whether oli mu kitongole oli mu gavumenti oliwa kati ogenda mu maaso yonna gwe gyogamba gyogenda ojjukiranga abasajja abo abasiraamu abalongo abaalinga batuukiriza obuvunaanyizibwa bwabwe wetunaavaayo abasiraamu ne tukola ekyo obaolyawo Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anaalungamya n'abalala abantu balekeraawo okubonaabonanga nga tebalina abakulembeze. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu